Hey everyone, great to see you today. So I am super excited to have my friend and recent connection on LinkedIn here with me today, Maryann Lombardi. And today we are talking about mastering your money. I know money can be kind of a funky topic because it can make people feel uncomfortable. And there's so much stigma around it. It's the root of all evil, or, no, you have to ask for what you're worth and don't sell yourself short. So it's so many, differing views of opinion, and it can get really convoluted and create a lot of stress. So today, Maryann and I are discussing how to ditch those mindset traps that prevent us from achieving our revenue goals. So a little bit about Miss Maryann, and I'll let her just take over. She helps women and non-binary and entrepreneurs ditch the work-life balance battle and take bold action to build a profitable business that aligns with the life they want to live, building wealth and independence in the process. Like, ooh, how cool. She spent the past 20 years working with cities, organizations, and entrepreneurs, building programs and resources to grow and help the entrepreneurial workforce thrive. And she's worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs and executives. And the most constant, or I should say consistent challenge that she sees is that they have limited confidence, which leads to a lack of clarity, preventing them from taking bold action to grow their business. Finally, Maryann hosts the Impact in Action weekly live show, which is every Wednesday. It's a very cool show, so you need to check it out at noon Eastern time. And she discusses various challenges that entrepreneurs face and how to combat them. So with that, welcome, Miss Maryann. I'm so glad you're here. And yeah, is there anything you'd like to share right off the bat?
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be here, Lisa. Thank you so much for the invite to talk about a subject that I really love to talk about. I mean, I think as you mentioned, money is something that people have complicated feelings about, right? And those complicated feelings start very, very early, right? Because as with many things, our social conditioning prepares us for what we think is possible in the world, who we think we can be, what we think we can do. And what we really can have. And money is a big piece of that.
It absolutely is. And, when you were growing up, a lot of it kind of starts when we were younger and how we were raised. So when you were growing up in your household, kind of what was the viewpoint of money?
Yeah, it's a great question because I didn't have a word for it at the time, but the more I've learned about it is I definitely grew up with an abundance approach to money. I mean, we weren't incredibly rich or anything like that, but there was always enough, right? There was this sense that if you needed something, you could figure out how to provide and get it. My father, we had a very traditional household with my father as the primary breadwinner. But there was this sense that we were taken care of, right? Like you were definitely taken care of, and you can figure out how to have and to do and to be financially independent in that space. And it was never a conversation around, oh, well, you can't do that because there's no money. There was the conversation about, well, why do you want to do that? What is the value to you about that thing? It wasn't a financial conversation. It was about how does that lead you to the goals that you have or the dreams that you have or that kind of sense, And my father also had a very traditional view in the idea that it's his job to provide. And it's my job as a child and my brother's job to follow our either ambitions or our dreams and to succeed and to make most out of that. The worst thing we could do was to do nothing.
Yes. Oh, I came from one of those households too. It's like very supportive, although I'm adopted and my parents were older when they adopted me, and they were both in the Great Depression. So it's their viewpoint of money was maybe a little more conservative in the sense that, yes, there can be money, but you must save for it and you must work really hard. And then if you work really hard, then if you've saved enough money, you might be able to get something. But like your father, mine was also the primary breadwinner in the family. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. So real kind of traditional values. So I understand that. So how has that your background and how you were raised, how has that kind of shaped your view of money today? And have there been other like influences in your life that have shaped that?
Yeah, well, I think it has shaped me tremendously because, I've always had a very entrepreneurial spirit, and that was part of my upbringing, right? And I think that my sense that money will always come, I will always figure out how to earn what I need.
Mhm.
I also knew that the worst thing that could happen is I could always move back in with my parents, sell my house, right? Like I always had this sense that there was support there, right? And
Mhm.
so, and that's allowed me to feel very entrepreneurial, to make entrepreneurial choices in my life because I'm not afraid of the risk of that, because there was always a sense that I can figure it out, because
Mhm.
it's always figure outable, right? It's just
It
a
is.
thing that you can always solve that problem one way or another. I can always get a job. I can always find something to do to make money. I can always figure it out. Right. So I think that has had a huge impact on how I approach the world, how I have approached the kind of career that I have had. And I feel lucky for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great mindset because money can paralyze people. I mean, there's so much fear around it, which can then translate into other areas of your life. So, how does this kind of translate into how you work with your clients? And what have you seen have been like big money blocks for them? And why is that?
Yeah, well, I think a really big first step in this is understanding where your mindset is on these issues. And so we do talk quite a bit about what our approach is, how we think about this, especially when it comes to money. And one of the big ones all the time is worth. Right, like I think
Mm,
worth even before abundance and scarcity is huge, because the messaging out there, so much of that messaging around pricing and around all of that kind of stuff is charge what you are worth, right? And we end up connecting this idea of our worth, our personal worth, with how much money we either have, don't have, charge, earn, all this kind of stuff, which is a major trap. It's a huge trap, and it confines people in this feeling that if somebody doesn't buy from me, if I don't have the right pricing or something like that, there's something wrong with me,
mhm,
right? And that is just not a good way to approach the work that we do to run our business, right? We have to take the personal out of it, to take it out of
mhm.
our pricing. Our pricing is not a personal process. It is a math equation, right? It is a math
Exactly.
equation based on how much do I need to take home at the end of the day to live the life that I want to live, and what will the market allow, right? And it's a math equation between those two things. So it has nothing to do with your personal worth.
Mm-mm. No, it doesn't. But as you had said, absolutely, people can take it so personally and they can feel like an absolute failure. And then once that happens, it just sabotages, all areas of their life. So when you're working with somebody who has that negative mindset around it, how do you kind of get them to shift from that attachment to their worth to, you know what, it's not, because I know it's a process for sure.
Yeah, well, there's two sides to this. One is that we will go through first how they think. We figure out how they think. We also make them highly aware of how they think. We have a process that we go through of tracking it. Like you spend at least 2 weeks where you start with and you start tracking when that either scarcity or worth stuff comes up, and you write it down. The other thing that we do is that we will look at how that shows up in their life, right? Like who are the people around them that reinforce that or enable that thinking, right? And so we'll do that kind of audit and then help them start making some changes in kind of their life circumstance as well as their thinking. Now that is a bit of a long game work because that
Mhm.
doesn't change overnight. But
No.
by doing some of this tactical work around noticing what it is, tracking what it is, changing the thought process of what it is, and then removing the influences and the enabling things around you, that has a huge impact in changing people's thought. And the next thing that we do when it comes to worth is that we turn that into really tactical approaches to the things that they need in their business. Because I am first and foremost a business coach, but as you know, working with entrepreneurs, like there's no way to do the business stuff without really talking about the human, right? Like the human is intricately laced into
Mhm.
the work of building a business. And so we will take that and go tactical into your pricing. I mean, we have a formula that we help people work through to figure out their pricing. So we take the emotion out of it because we have tactics. We have, no, let's plug it in this formula and let's talk about it, right? And we come up
Nice.
with something a bit unemotional around their pricing, so that they can just look at it and be, oh, that makes sense, right? And then we work that problem in a very tactical way.
I love that. So, who is your, I mean, I know who you work with, obviously entrepreneurs a lot and executives, but if you had to say what your ideal client is, if you had to, they're all watching you right now, what would it be? How would you woo them? I guess.
Yeah, well, so I have a tendency to work with, and I really love to work with entrepreneurs that are between the 1 and 2 year mark, right?
Okay.
But these are women and gender non-conforming individuals who, they're not just jumping into entrepreneurship willy-nilly, right? Like, I mean, they've thought about this. They are probably coming out of a corporate kind of environment where they have felt that burnout and that work-life balance lie. They've tried to live that and do that, and they're trying to find a solution that does not leave them in a corporate environment that doesn't give two shits about who they are and what they want, that flexibility and all of that kind of stuff. So so those tend to be the people that I'm working with. So they're ambitious, they're high achievers, they don't really want to waste time by scanning YouTube to try to figure out, how do I create a business offer and a revenue plan and a profit plan. Like, they want to get at it, they want to do it, they want to launch it, they want to go. So that tends to be the makeup of the people that I
Okay.
work with. Usually they're in their 30s to 55, but not always. I have some clients who are younger than that, but who are just like, bam, 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 let's go. So
Okay.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So as you know, focus on with people who are totally stressed and burnt out. So clearly, if they're in that state, they need to get through that first so
Yeah.
that they can see the light and are ready to do the work and actually can't have a vision of what it can be. So,
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's absolutely true. And I also think that there are some people who obviously like jump out of this, the burnout world that they're in order, because
Mhm.
they don't really know another solution, right? And like they
Right.
just jump out. And I've had some folks jump immediately in to building a business, and we've had to slow it down a little bit so that they can figure out what they really want, because most of their purpose and their needs and what they're trying to do is in response to where they just came from, as opposed to looking forward to what they want. And so we do a
Yes.
lot more work about, like, okay, I know you came from this, but let's start dreaming about what's next, not what is in contrast to where you came from.
Oh, that's so important. Don't react. Actually
Yes,
work from a vision of where you want to be. I love that.
absolutely.
So, so important. Yes, I totally agree. So, you have a master class coming up soon.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and I know it's a kind of a labor of love. So please talk about that and, when it is, how people can get
Yeah.
connected because it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. We're doing I'm doing a master class October 12 and 13,
Okay.
12 p.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern, and we're doing master your money, ditch the doubt so you can double your sales, right? What we're going to
Okay.
do is we're going to talk about the mindset traps that really get in the way of you going full bore into earning the revenue that you need to run the business that supports the life that you want to choose. So we are going to go into those mindset traps. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about where they come from and how to take action to dismiss them so you can move forward. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to be looking at your profit plan So what I want people to leave with is a profit plan that is focused on their future, not focused on where they are, but focused on where they want to go, that is
Nice.
actionable, right? So that when they leave, they can say, okay, this is what I need to do that next. Then I do that, then I do that, then I do that. So we're going to break down, what is the profit plan? How do you make sure you have one? How do you make sure it's focused on the future, not focused on now or behind you? And then how do you create the action steps that propel it forward? So people are going to leave with a very tactical experience. And those who show up live, as opposed to watching the replay, are going to get a session with me to look over their profit plan.
Oh, that's so exciting. Yeah, that's what a great offering. So how do they tap into it, and how do they join, and the whole bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they can go to coach.maryanlombardi.money. Right. So
Okay.
that's coach.maryanlombardi.money. You can also follow me on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn or follow me on Instagram, and you'll see the link pretty much everywhere. Right. But please feel free to do that. LinkedIn is just my name, Maryann Lombardi, and Instagram is I am Maryann Lombardi. So you can find me there and get the link. But I hope you show up, because I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for us to break down those mindset and also give you the action steps to move forward.
And that's so important. It's like, okay, it's great to identify the challenge, but if you don't have, steps that are doable, you can't move forward.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's where it's so awesome. So I love this. You're going to help so many people. So, all right, kind of in closing, talk about like, what is one takeaway that you want the audience to know right now, or a pearl of wisdom?
Yeah, one thing I would put out there is to remember that your feelings about this are not your fault, right?
Ooh,
I
that's a
think
good one.
that we have a tendency to feel at blame for the way we feel and think. And the reality is, especially for many women, there are social conditions and circumstances and expectations that have been placed on us for a very long time that shape how we think about things. And so all of that, those systems and conditioning, and bring us to the point that we're at now. So it's our job to navigate that and to figure out our way through it and take action beyond it. But it's important to recognize that we are not at fault for these feelings, right? And for these ways of thinking. But we have every agency to move through them, pass them, and take action to build the life we want.
Oh, that's so inspiring. I love that. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, this has been amazing, Maryann. Thank you so much. I'm so
Of
excited
course.
to share this with everybody, because you have so many good nuggets. And definitely, it's what, October 12th and 13th
Yep.
again?
12 and
Yes.
13. Yeah.
Okay. So definitely tune into that. And until next time, have a great afternoon.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.